Best quotes by Plato. Only the dead have seen the end of the war. The price good men pay for indifference to public affairs is to be ruled by evil men. The beginning is the most important part of the work. Be kind, for everyone you meet is fighting a harder battle. I am the wisest man alive, for I know one thing, and that is that I know nothing. Love is a serious mental disease. Human behavior flows from three main sources: desire, emotion, and knowledge. A good decision is based on knowledge and not on numbers. You can discover more about a person in an hour of play than in a year of conversation. We are twice armed if we fight with faith. Good people do not need law to tell them to act responsibly, while bad people will find a way around the laws. Music is a moral law. It gives soul to the universe, wings to the mind, flight to the imagination, and charm and gaiety to life and to everything. The first and the greatest victory is to conquer yourself. To be conquered by yourself is of all things most shameful and vile. Every heart sings a song, incomplete, until another heart whispers back. Those who wish to sing always find a song. At the touch of a lover, everyone becomes a poet. Wise men speak because they have something to say, foolish because they have to say something. We can easily forgive a child who is afraid of dark. The real tragedy of life is when men are afraid of the light. Do not train a child to learn by force or harshness, but direct them to it by what amuses their minds, so that you may be better able to discover with accuracy the peculiar bent of the genius of each. One of the penalties for refusing to participate in politics is that you end up being governed by your inferiors. There are two things a person should never be angry at: what they can help and what they cannot. Do you desire to be Holy One, always day and night in one another's company? For if this is what you desire, I am ready to melt and fuse you together, so that being two, you shall become one. And while you live a common life, as if you were a single man, and after your death in the world below, still be one departed soul instead of two. Never discourage anyone who continually makes progress, no matter how slow. Death is not the worst that can happen to men. Desires are only the lack of something, and those who have the greatest desires are in a worse condition than those who have none or very slight ones. If women are expected to do the same work as men, we must teach them the same things. Ignorance, the root and the stem of every evil. Laws are partly formed for the sake of good men, in order to instruct them how they may live on friendly terms with one another, and partly for the sake of those who refuse to be instructed, whose spirit cannot be subdued or softened or hindered from plunging into evil. Man is a tame or civilized animal. Nevertheless, he requires proper instructions and a fortunate nature, and then of all animals he becomes the most divine and most civilized. But if he be insufficiently or ill-educated, he is the most savage of earthly creatures. No human thing is of serious importance. There is no such thing as a lover's oath. Anyone who has common sense will remember that the bewilderments of the eyes are of two kinds and arise from two causes, either from coming out of the light or from going into the light, which is true of men's eye quite as much as of the bodily eye. Thinking is the talking of the soul with itself. No evil can happen to a good man, either in life or after death. Let every man remind their descendants that they also are soldiers who must not desert the ranks of their ancestors, or from cowardice fall behind. Sons, the event proves that your fathers were brave men, for we might have lived dishonorably, but have preferred to die honorably, rather than bring you and your children into disgrace, and rather than dishonor our own fathers and forefathers. There will be no end to the troubles of states or of humanity itself, till philosophers become kings in this world, or till those we now call kings and rulers really and truly become philosophers. And political power and philosophy thus come into the same hands. And all knowledge, when separated from justice and virtue, is seen to be cunning and not wisdom. Therefore make this your first and last and constant and all-observing aim, to exceed, if possible, not only us but all your ancestors in virtue, and know that to excel you in virtue only brings us shame, but that to be excelled by you in a source of happiness to us. Poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. The direction in which education starts a man will determine his future life. The more the pleasures of the body fade away, the greater to me is the pleasure and charm of conversation. Democracy is a charming form of government, full of variety and disorder, and dispensing a sort of equality to equals and unequal alike. Many men are loved by their enemies and hated by their friends, and are the friends of their enemies and the enemies of their friends. If a man can be properly said to love something, it must be clear that he feels affection for it as a whole and does not love part of it to the exclusion of the rest. Was not this what we spoke of as the great advantage of wisdom, to know what is known and what is unknown to us? He who commits injustice is ever made more wretched than he who suffers it. People are like dirt. They can either nourish you and help you grow as a person, or they can stunt your growth and make you wilt and die. No one ever teaches well who wants to teach, or governs well who wants to govern. He whom love touches not walks in darkness. Good actions give strength to ourselves and inspire good actions in others. Life must be lived as play. If a man neglects education, he walks lame to the end of his life. This city is what it is because our citizens are what they are. Know thyself. An empty vessel makes the loudest sound, so they that have the least wit are the greatest babblers. Everything that deceives may be said to enchant. He who is of a calm and happy nature will hardly feel the pressure of age, but to him who is of an opposite disposition, youth and age are equally a burden. Love is born into every human being. It calls back the halves of our original nature together. It tries to make one out of two and heal the wound of human nature. Attention to health is life's greatest hindrance. It is impossible to improve the world if first the man does not improve. The greatest mistake in the treatment of disease is that there are physicians for the body and physicians for the soul, although two cannot be separated. Virtue is the desire of things honorable and the power of attaining them, because it is correct to make a priority of young people, taking care that they turn out as well as possible. It is only just that anything that grows up on its own should feel it has nothing to repay for an upbringing which owes no one. False words are not only evil in themselves, but they infect the soul with evil. Love is a great spirit. Everything spiritual is in between God and mortal. There is in every one of us, even those who seem to be most moderate, a type of desire that is terrible, wild, and lawless. Excellence is not a gift, but a skill that takes practice. We do not act rightly because we are excellent. In fact, we achieve excellence by acting rightly. The worst type of man behaves as badly in his waking life as some men do in their dreams. The greatest wealth is to live content with little. Self-conquest is the greatest of victories. And will life be worth having if that higher part of man be destroyed, which is improved by justice and depraved by injustice? The man who has no self-respect, on the contrary, will imitate anybody and anything, sound of nature and cries of animals alike. His whole performance will be imitation of gesture and voice. It is our duty to select the best and most dependable theory that human intelligence can supply and use it as a raft to ride the seas of life. The only thing he ought to consider, if he does anything, is whether he does right or wrong, whether it is what a good man does or a bad man. Always be kind, for everyone is fighting a hard battle. Love is the joy of the good, the wonder of the wise, the amazement of the gods. No thing more excellent nor more valuable than wine was ever granted mankind by God. Music and rhyme find their way into the secret places of the soul. To the degree that I cease to pursue my deepest passion, I will gradually be controlled by my deepest fears. A wise man will want to be ever with him who is better than himself. Time is moving image of eternity. You take the word in the sense which is most damaging to argument. The heaviest penalty for declining to rule is to be ruled by someone inferior to yourself. The measure of a man is what he does with power. The objective of education is to teach us to love what is beautiful. Nothing beautiful without struggle. Any man may easily do harm, but not every man can do good to another. Excess of liberty, whether it lies in state or individuals, seems only to pass into excess of slavery. Those who don't know must learn from those who do. He who wishes to serve his country must have not only the power to think, but the will to act. Wealth is the parent of luxury and indolence, and poverty of meanness and viciousness, and both of discontent. States will never be happy until rulers become philosophers, or philosophers become rulers. Human nature was originally one, and we were a whole, and the pursuit of the whole is called love. According to Greek mythology, humans were originally created with 4 arms, 4 legs, and a head with 2 faces. Fearing their power, Zeus split them in 2 separate beings, condemning them to spend their lives in search of their other halves. Reality is created by the mind. We can change our reality by changing our mind. The evil never attains to any real friendship, either with good or evil. The comprehensive mind is always dialectical. Now the hours to part has come. I go to die, you go to live. Which of us goes to the better? Lot is known to no one. Rather, I think that a man who is willing to value learning as long as he lives, not supposing that old age brings him wisdom of itself, will necessarily pay more attention to the rest of his life. For a man to conquer himself is the first and noblest of all victories. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate your time. To watch more videos like this, please like, share and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the bell.